was just another Tuesday at Lincoln Middle School. The kind of day where nothing special was supposed to happen. Students rushed through the hallways between classes, lockers slammed shut, and the smell of cafeteria pizza filled the air. For most kids, it was ordinary. But for 14-year-old Maya Chen, sitting in her wheelchair near the cafeteria entrance, this Tuesday would become one she'd never forget. Maya had cerebral palsy. She'd been born with it, and her wheelchair had been part of her life for as long as she could remember. Most days she didn't think much about it. It was just how she got around. She had friends, she liked her classes, and she was pretty good at math. But lately things at school had gotten harder. Not because of her disability, but because of 3 boys who seemed to think making her life miserable was their personal hobby. The leader of this group was Tyler Mitchell. He was an 8th grader, tall and athletic, the kind of kid who walked through the hallways like he owned them. His 2 best friends, Josh and Cameron, followed him everywhere. Together, they were the kind of group that other students tried to avoid. They weren't just mean to Maya. They picked on lots of kids. But something about Maya seemed to bring out the worst in them. It started small a few months ago. Tyler would make comments as he passed her in the hallway. "Better watch out," he'd say with a smirk. "Speed bump ahead." His friends would laugh like it was the funniest joke they'd ever heard. Maya tried to ignore it. Her mom had always told her that bullies wanted attention, and if you didn't give it to them, they'd eventually get bored and move on. But Tyler didn't get bored. He got worse. He started accidentally kicking her footrests when he walked by. He'd block her path in the hallway, forcing her to find another route to class. Once, he even moved her wheelchair while she was in the bathroom, leaving it in a completely different hallway. Maya had to ask a teacher for help finding it. When the teacher asked what happened, Maya said she must have forgotten where she left it. She didn't want to cause trouble. She didn't want to be that kid who was always complaining. On this particular Tuesday, Maya was waiting for her best friend Riley to grab their lunch trays. They had a system worked out. Riley would get both trays, and Maya would save them a spot at their usual table by the window. It was easier than trying to navigate the crowded lunch line with her wheelchair. Maya was scrolling through her phone, not paying much attention to the crowd around her, when she heard a familiar voice. Well, look who's blocking the hallway again." Her stomach dropped. She looked up to see Tyler standing in front of her, with Josh and Cameron on either side. All 3 of them had the same mean grin on their faces, the kind of grin that meant trouble. "I'm not blocking anything," Maya said quietly. Her heart was already beating faster. "I'm just waiting for my friend." "You're always in the way," Tyler said, taking a step closer. "Don't you have a special classroom or something where you're supposed to be?" Josh laughed. "Yeah, why are you always out here with normal people?" The word stung, but Maya tried not to show it. "Can you just leave me alone? Please, leave you alone." Tyler mocked her tone. "What's wrong? Can't take a joke?" Maya didn't answer. She knew from experience that nothing she said would make this better. She just wanted them to go away. She looked around, hoping to see Riley coming back with their lunch or maybe a teacher walking by. But the cafeteria entrance was crowded with students, and no one seemed to be paying attention to what was happening. That's when Tyler kicked her footrest. Not hard enough to really hurt, but enough to jolt her forward in her chair. Maya grabbed the armrest to steady herself. "Stop it," she said louder this time. A few students nearby glanced over but quickly looked away. Nobody wanted to get involved. "Stop it," Tyler mimicked in a baby voice. "What are you going to do about it?" Before Maya could respond, Tyler grabbed the handles on the back of her wheelchair. Her breath caught in her throat. "Don't," she started to say, but it was too late. Tyler pushed the wheelchair backward, hard. The front wheels lifted off the ground. Maya felt herself tipping, that horrible weightless feeling like when you miss a step going downstairs. She tried to hold on, but there was nothing to grab. The wheelchair tilted past the point of balance, and suddenly, Maya was falling. She hit the ground hard, landing on her side with a painful thud that knocked the wind out of her. Her wheelchair clattered beside her, one wheel still spinning. Pain shot through her shoulder and hip. But worse than the physical pain was the feeling of complete helplessness as she lay there on the cold tile floor. Tyler and his friends were laughing. Actually laughing. "Oops," Tyler said, not sounding sorry at all. "Maybe you should be more careful." Maya looked up at the crowd of students gathered around the cafeteria entrance. There had to be at least 20 or 30 kids who saw what just happened. Some of them had their phones out, probably filming, but nobody moved to help her. They just stared. Some looked uncomfortable, some looked shocked, but nobody did anything. "Come on," Tyler said to his friends. "Let's go." The three of them walked away like nothing had happened, disappearing into the cafeteria. Maya lay on the floor, trying not to cry. Her shoulder hurt. Her hip hurt. But the worst pain was the humiliation burning in her chest. All these people watching and nobody cared enough to help. Finally, after what felt like forever but was probably only a minute, an older teacher came rushing over. "Oh my goodness, sweetie, are you okay?" Mrs. Patterson knelt down beside her. "What happened?" I fell," Maya said quietly. She didn't want to explain. She didn't want to relive it. Mrs. Patterson helped her sit up and worked to right the wheelchair. It took a few minutes and the help of another student before Maya was back in her chair. Her clothes were dirty, her hair was a mess, and her eyes were burning with tears she refused to let fall in front of all these people. "Do you need to go to the nurse?" Mrs. Patterson asked, her face full of concern. "No," Maya said. "I just want to go to the bathroom." Mrs. Patterson looked like she wanted to ask more questions, but she just nodded. "Okay, honey, but if you need anything, you come find me, all right?" Maya wheeled herself toward the bathroom as fast as she could, ignoring the stares from other students. She could hear people whispering. Some were probably already posting about it on social media. By the end of the day, everyone in school would know that Tyler Mitchell had knocked Maya Chen out of her wheelchair. And nobody had done anything to stop him. When she finally made it to the bathroom, Maya locked herself in the accessible stall and let the tears come. She cried from the pain, from the embarrassment, from the unfairness of it all. She cried because she knew Tyler would probably never get in trouble for what he did. He never did. His dad was on the school board and Tyler was the star of the basketball team. People like Tyler always got away with everything. Maya had no idea that across the cafeteria someone had seen the whole thing. Someone who wasn't going to look away or stay silent. Someone who was about to make sure Tyler Mitchell finally faced consequences for his actions. But Maya didn't know that yet. Right now, all she knew was that she felt more alone than she ever had in her entire life. Across the cafeteria, sitting at a table near the big windows, 15-year-old Kennedy Washington had seen everything. She'd watched Tyler Mitchell push Maya's wheelchair backward. She'd seen Maya hit the ground. And she'd seen every single person in that hallway do absolutely nothing about it. Kennedy's hands were clenched into fists on the table. Her best friend Destiny noticed immediately. "Girl, what's wrong? You look like you're about to explode. Did you see that?" Kennedy pointed toward the cafeteria entrance where Mrs. Patterson was helping Maya back into her wheelchair.
"Did you see what Tyler just did?"
Destiny looked over and shrugged. "Yeah, that was messed up. But what can you do? Tyler's been like that since elementary school. Nobody ever does anything about it." That answer made Kennedy even angrier. "So we're just supposed to let it happen? That girl could have been seriously hurt." "I'm not saying it's right," Destiny said carefully. "I'm just saying that's how it is. Tyler's dad is on the school board. His uncle is a lawyer. Every time someone tries to get him in trouble, it goes nowhere. You remember what happened to David last year when he reported Tyler for stealing his phone?" Kennedy did remember. David had been labeled a troublemaker and a liar. Tyler had walked away without even a warning. But that didn't make it okay. "Somebody has to do something," Kennedy said quietly. Destiny grabbed her arm. "Don't even think about it, Kennedy. You know how this works. If you go after Tyler, you'll be the one who gets in trouble. Not him. You." Kennedy knew her friend was right. She'd seen it happen before. But she couldn't shake what she'd just witnessed. The image of Maya on that floor, surrounded by people who wouldn't help, kept replaying in her mind. Kennedy Washington wasn't someone who went looking for fights. Her grandmother had raised her to be respectful and to stay out of trouble. Her mom worked 2 jobs to keep their small apartment and put food on the table. Kennedy knew her mom couldn't afford for her to get suspended or kicked out of school. She had to think about college, about scholarships, about her future. But her grandmother had also taught her something else. She'd taught her that staying silent in the face of injustice made you part of the problem. Kennedy's grandmother had grown up during the civil rights movement. She'd marched and protested and stood up when it would have been easier to sit down. She'd told Kennedy stories about watching people get hurt while others looked away, and how those moments haunted her more than the times she'd gotten in trouble for speaking up. The worst thing in the world, her grandmother had said once, is knowing you could have helped someone and you chose not to. That stays with you forever. Kennedy thought about her little cousin Antonio. He was 7 years old and had Down syndrome. He was the sweetest kid Kennedy had ever known. He loved dinosaurs and giving hugs and making everyone laugh. But Kennedy worried about what would happen when Antonio started going to school, when he ran into kids like Tyler Mitchell. She hoped someone would stand up for him. She hoped someone would care enough to help. How could she hope for that if she wasn't willing to do it herself? The bell rang, signaling the end of lunch period. Students started gathering their trays and backpacks. Kennedy picked up her things slowly, her mind racing. She had math class next, but she couldn't imagine sitting through a lesson on equations while that scene kept playing in her head. "You okay?" Destiny asked as they walked out of the cafeteria. "Yeah," Kennedy lied. "I'm fine," but she wasn't fine. She was angry. She was frustrated, and she was tired of watching people like Tyler get away with hurting others just because nobody had the courage to call them out. Kennedy barely heard a word her math teacher said during class. She stared at her notebook where she was supposed to be copying problems from the board, but her pencil stayed frozen in her hand. She kept thinking about Maya. Was she okay? Did she have anyone checking on her? Or was she sitting somewhere alone, feeling like nobody in the whole school cared about what happened to her? Kennedy thought about Tyler too, about how he'd laughed as he walked away, about how confident he'd been that nothing would happen to him. And the terrible thing was he was probably right. In 30 minutes, he'd probably forgotten all about it. Just another day, another person to push around. No consequences. Unless someone made sure there were consequences. Kennedy's heart started beating faster. She could feel that familiar rush of adrenaline that came when she was about to do something big, something that couldn't be taken back. Her brother had taught her a trick a few months ago about recording videos on her phone without anyone knowing. He'd learned it for his own protection, after getting stopped by police too many times for no reason. "Always have evidence," he'd told her. "People can lie, but video doesn't." She pulled out her phone under her desk and opened the camera app. She practiced starting a recording while the phone was in her jacket pocket. It worked. The microphone would pick up audio, and if she angled it right, it would catch video too. By the time the bell rang, Kennedy had made her decision. She knew where Tyler and his friends hung out after school. She knew they'd be surrounded by their usual crowd of people who laughed at their jokes and pretended not to notice when they were being cruel. That was fine. Kennedy wanted witnesses. She wanted everyone to see what happened next. Destiny caught up with her in the hallway. "Kennedy, where are you going?" "You have that look on your face." "What look?" "The look you get right before you do something crazy." "Talk to me. What are you planning?" Kennedy stopped walking and turned to face her friend. "I'm going to talk to Tyler." "Talk to him?" Destiny's eyes went wide. "Kennedy, no." "That's a terrible idea. What are you even going to say?" "I don't know yet. But I can't just pretend I didn't see what happened. I can't be like everyone else who just looked away." "This isn't your fight," Destiny said, but her voice was softer now, less certain. "Then whose fight is it?" Kennedy asked. "Maya's? She's probably terrified to say anything." "The teachers? They've been ignoring Tyler for years. It has to be someone's fight, and I'm saying it's mine." Destiny was quiet for a moment. Then she sighed. "You're really going to do this, aren't you?" "Yeah, I am." "Then I'm coming with you. Not to fight or anything, but just someone should have your back." Kennedy felt a wave of gratitude for her friend. "Thanks, but stay back, okay? I don't want you getting in trouble, too." They walked through the school together, Kennedy's heart pounding with every step. She thought about her mom, who would be so disappointed if Kennedy got suspended. She thought about her grandmother, who would probably be proud. She thought about Antonio, and Maya, and every other kid who'd ever been pushed around by someone like Tyler Mitchell. Her phone was in her jacket pocket, ready to record. Her hands were shaking slightly, but her mind was clear. She wasn't going to fight Tyler. That would just make her look like the problem. But she was going to make sure everyone knew exactly what kind of person he was. She found Tyler and his friends exactly where she expected them, by the gym entrance. They were laughing about something, probably reliving their greatest hits of the day. Josh was demonstrating something with his hands, probably reenacting pushing Maya's wheelchair. Kennedy took a deep breath. This was it. No going back now. She reached into her pocket and started the recording on her phone. Then she walked straight toward Tyler Mitchell, her voice steady and loud enough for everyone nearby to hear. Tyler Mitchell. He turned around, surprised. He didn't know her well, but he recognized her from school. What? Kennedy looked him right in the eye. We need to talk about what you did to Maya Chen. Tyler turned around with that same smirk he always had on his face. The kind of smirk that said he didn't think anyone could touch him. His friends Josh and Cameron stopped talking and looked at Kennedy like she'd just interrupted something important. What did you just say? Tyler asked, crossing his arms. Kennedy felt her heart hammering in her chest, but she didn't let it show on her face. Around them, other students had started to notice something was happening. Conversations died down. People turned to watch. Good. That's exactly what Kennedy wanted. I said we need to talk about what you did to Maya Chen, Kennedy repeated, her voice clear and strong. About 30 minutes ago, at the cafeteria entrance, when you pushed her wheelchair over and she fell on the floor. Tyler's smirk got bigger. I don't know what you're talking about. She must have tipped over on her own. Those things aren't very stable, you know. A few of his friends laughed. Kennedy felt anger rising in her throat, but she kept her voice steady. Her phone was recording everything in her pocket. She needed to stay calm. That's funny, Kennedy said, because about 20 people saw you push her wheelchair. I saw you push her wheelchair. You knocked a girl out of her wheelchair and then you walked away laughing. Who are you anyway? Cameron stepped forward. This isn't your business. It became my business when I watched it happen and nobody did anything about it, Kennedy shot back. She looked directly at Tyler again. You think you're tough? Pushing over someone who can't fight back? That doesn't make you tough. That makes you a coward. The crowd around them had grown larger now. Students were pulling out their phones. Kennedy could see people recording. Perfect. Let them record. Let everyone see this. Tyler's face got red. He wasn't smiling anymore. You better watch your mouth. Or what? Kennedy took a step closer to him. She wasn't as tall as Tyler, but she stood her ground. What are you going to do? Push me down too? Go ahead. There's about 30 people here with their phones out. Everyone's watching you right now. Show them what kind of person you really are. Tyler looked around at all the phones pointed at him. Kennedy could see him thinking, trying to figure out his next move. If he backed down, he'd look weak in front of his friends. But if he did anything to Kennedy, it would all be on video. This is stupid, Tyler said, but his voice had lost some of its confidence. You're just trying to start drama. No, Kennedy said firmly. You started the drama when you hurt Maya. I'm just making sure everyone knows about it. You think people don't see what you do? You think nobody notices how you treat people? Everyone sees it. They're just too scared to say anything because your dad's on the school board and you think that makes you untouchable. My dad has nothing to do with this, Tyler said, but his voice was defensive now. Your dad has everything to do with this, Kennedy continued. You get away with being a bully because people like your dad make excuses for you. But not anymore. Maya deserves an apology. She deserves better than what you did to her. Josh stepped up next to Tyler. Come on, man. Let's just go. This girl's crazy, but Kennedy wasn't done. She raised her voice so everyone in the growing crowd could hear her. Maya Chen has cerebral palsy. She uses a wheelchair to get around. That doesn't make her less than anyone else. That doesn't give anyone the right to push her, to mock her, to make her life miserable. And every single person who saw what happened today and did nothing should be ashamed of themselves. Some kids in the crowd looked down at their feet. Kennedy could see the guilt on their faces. Good. They should feel guilty. You all stood there and watched. Kennedy continued. You recorded it on your phones probably to post it somewhere for likes. But nobody helped her. Nobody stood up for her. We're all so worried about not getting involved, about not making waves, that we let people like Tyler get away with whatever they want. A girl Kennedy didn't know spoke up from the crowd. She's right. I saw what happened. It was wrong, another voice joined in. Tyler's been doing stuff like this for years. Everyone knows it. He took my calculator last month and broke it, someone else said. When I told the teacher, nothing happened. More and more students started speaking up, sharing their own stories about Tyler. Kennedy watched his face get redder and redder. This wasn't going the way he'd expected. He was losing control of the situation. All of you need to shut up, Tyler said, his voice getting louder. You don't know what you're talking about. We know exactly what we're talking about, Kennedy said. And now everyone else will too. Because this conversation, the one we're having right now, it's being recorded by at least a dozen people. By tonight, everyone in this school is going to see it. Your teachers are going to see it. The principal is going to see it. And yeah, your dad on the school board is probably going to see it too. Tyler's eyes went wide. Kennedy could tell he was starting to panic. He looked at all the phones pointed at him, at all the students watching. For the first time, he seemed to realize that he might actually face consequences for his actions. You can't do that, Tyler said. You can't just record people without their permission. Kennedy almost laughed. That's what you're worried about? Whether I got your permission to record? You didn't ask Maya's permission before you knocked her out of her wheelchair. Funny how that works, isn't it? Cameron tugged on Tyler's arm. Dude, we should go. This is getting out of hand. But Tyler was stuck. If he left now, it would look like he was running away. But if he stayed, Kennedy would just keep talking, keep exposing him in front of everyone. He was trapped and he knew it. Listen, Tyler said, trying to sound reasonable now. Maybe things got a little out of hand earlier. But it wasn't that serious. She's fine, right? She's not fine, Kennedy said. She hit the ground hard. She could have been seriously hurt. And even if she wasn't physically injured, do you have any idea how humiliating that was for her? To be lying on the floor while dozens of people stood around and did nothing. Tyler didn't have an answer for that. Kennedy looked around at the crowd. All of you have a choice right now. You can keep pretending you don't see what happens in this school. You can keep letting bullies like Tyler do whatever they want. Or you can stand up and say that it's not okay, that people like Maya deserve to feel safe here, that everyone deserves respect, no matter what they look like or how they get around or anything else. The crowd was completely silent. Kennedy could feel the weight of what she was saying settling over everyone. This was bigger than just Tyler and Maya now. This was about the entire culture of their school. A freshman girl that Kennedy recognized from her English class raised her hand like they were in a classroom. What do we do? How do we make it stop? We start by not staying silent, Kennedy said. If you saw what happened to Maya today, report it. Tell a teacher. Tell the principal. Tell your parents. Don't let it just disappear. And if you see something like this happen again, don't just stand there. Do something. Say something. Be the person who helps instead of the person who looks away. Tyler made one last attempt to save face. You think you're some kind of hero? You're just a troublemaker. My dad's going to hear about this. Good, Kennedy said without hesitation. I hope he does. Because maybe he needs to hear about the kind of person his son is. Maybe everyone needs to hear about it. Tyler stood there for another moment, clearly wanting to say something that would make him look tough again. But nothing came out. Finally, he turned and walked away, pushing through the crowd. Josh and Cameron followed him, but they didn't look as confident as they usually did. The crowd started to break up slowly. Some students came up to Kennedy to tell her she was brave. Others just nodded at her as they passed. Destiny appeared at her side. Girl, Destiny said quietly, that was incredible. And also completely insane. You know you're probably going to get called to the principal's office, right? I know, Kennedy said. Her hands were shaking now that the adrenaline was wearing off, but it was worth it. What Kennedy didn't know was that Maya had heard about the confrontation. Word was spreading fast through the school, and Maya Chen was about to do something she never thought she'd have the courage to do. By the time the final bell rang, half the school had seen the video. Students had posted it everywhere. Instagram, TikTok, Twitter. The clip of Kennedy confronting Tyler had been shared hundreds of times, and the comments were pouring in. Most people were on Kennedy's side, praising her for standing up to Tyler, but some were saying she'd gone too far, that she was just looking for attention. Maya Chen sat in her mom's car in the parking lot staring at her phone. Riley had sent her the video with a message that just said, OMG, did you see this? Maya had watched it 3 times already. She couldn't believe someone had actually stood up for her. A girl she barely knew. A girl who had nothing to gain and everything to lose by getting involved. Sweetie, are you okay? Maya's mom asked from the driver's seat. She'd noticed Maya had been quiet since getting in the car. How was school today? Maya's throat got tight. She'd been holding everything in all day, trying to act normal, trying to pretend like what happened at lunch didn't hurt as much as it did. But now, watching this video of Kennedy defending her, something broke open inside. Mom, Maya said, her voice cracking. Something happened today. Her mom immediately pulled the car over into an empty spot. What happened? Are you hurt? And then Maya told her everything. About Tyler and how he'd been bullying her for months. About being pushed out of her wheelchair. About lying on the floor while everyone just stared. About feeling completely alone and humiliated. Her mom listened with tears in her eyes, getting angrier with every detail. "Why didn't you tell me this was happening?" her mom asked, her voice shaking. "Maya, this is serious. This has been going on for months?" "I didn't want to make it worse," Maya admitted. "I thought if I just ignored it, it would stop. And I didn't think anyone would do anything about it anyway. Tyler's dad is on the school board. Everyone says he's untouchable." Her mom's face went from sad to furious. "Untouchable? We'll see about that. Show me that video again." Maya played the video for her mom, who watched it with her jaw clenched. When it ended, her mom was already pulling out her own phone. "I'm calling the principal right now. And then I'm calling the school board. And if they don't do something about this, I'm calling a lawyer." "Mom, wait," Maya said. But her mom was already dialing. While Maya's mom was on the phone with the school, Kennedy was sitting in Principal Chen's office. She'd been called down during last period, which she'd expected. Principal Chen was a middle-aged woman with gray hair and tired eyes. She looked like someone who'd seen everything and was surprised by nothing. "Kennedy," Principal Chen said, folding her hands on her desk. "I'm sure you know why you're here." "Yes, ma'am," Kennedy said. "I've received several calls from parents this afternoon, and I've seen the video that's been circulating. The one where you confronted Tyler Mitchell." Kennedy waited. She couldn't tell if she was in trouble or not. "I want to hear your side of what happened," Principal Chen said. "From the beginning," so Kennedy told her. She explained how she'd witnessed Tyler push Maya's wheelchair, how Maya had fallen, how nobody had helped. She talked about why she felt she had to say something. She didn't leave anything out. Principal Chen listened without interrupting. When Kennedy finished, the principal was quiet for a long moment. "What you did took courage," Principal Chen finally said, "but it also put you at risk. If Tyler had become violent, you could have been hurt. You should have come to me immediately after witnessing the incident with Maya." "With all due respect, ma'am," Kennedy said carefully, "students have been reporting Tyler for years. Nothing ever happens to him." Principal Chen's expression didn't change, but Kennedy saw something flicker in her eyes. "Guilt, maybe, or frustration." "You're right," the principal said quietly, "and that's on us, on me. We've failed students like Maya by not taking these complaints seriously enough. Tyler's father being on the school board shouldn't matter. But I'd be lying if I said it didn't complicate things." Kennedy was surprised by the principal's honesty. "However," Principal Chen continued, "things are different now. Maya's mother just called me. She's filing a formal complaint, and with this video as evidence, along with statements from other students who've come forward this afternoon, we can't ignore this anymore. Tyler will face consequences." "What kind of consequences?" Kennedy asked. "I can't discuss another student's disciplinary actions with you," Principal Chen said, "but I can tell you that this matter is being taken very seriously. The school board will be meeting about this." Kennedy nodded. It wasn't the detailed answer she wanted, but it was something. "As for you," Principal Chen said, "technically, you violated school policy by filming another student without permission and by confronting Tyler instead of reporting the incident to a teacher. However, given the circumstances, I'm not going to suspend you. Consider this a warning. Next time, please come to an adult first." "Yes, ma'am," Kennedy said. "Can I ask you something?" "Go ahead. Will Maya be okay? I mean, is anyone checking on her?" Principal Chen's expression softened. "We're going to make sure Maya gets the support she needs. And we're going to review our bullying policies. Clearly, they're not working the way they should." Kennedy was dismissed and walked out of the office feeling strange. She wasn't in trouble, which was good. But she wondered if anything would really change, or if this would all blow over in a week and things would go back to normal. She found Destiny waiting for her outside the office. "So, what happened? Are you suspended?" "No, just a warning." "Thank God," Destiny said, hugging her. "Girl, you're all over social media. People are calling you a hero." Kennedy pulled out her phone and immediately regretted it. Her Instagram had hundreds of new notifications. Her video had been shared thousands of times now. People she didn't even know were commenting, some praising her, others criticizing her. It was overwhelming. "I'm not a hero," Kennedy said quietly. "I just did what anyone should have done." "But nobody else did," Destiny pointed out. "That's why it matters." That evening, Maya was surprised to receive a message on Instagram from an account she didn't recognize. When she opened it, she saw it was from Kennedy. "Hey," the message said. "I'm Kennedy. I'm the girl from the video. I just wanted to check if you're okay. What Tyler did was wrong, and I'm sorry nobody helped you when it happened. Maya stared at the message for a long time before typing back. Thank you for standing up for me. Nobody's ever done that before. They started messaging back and forth. Kennedy asked about what Maya had been going through, and Maya opened up in a way she hadn't with anyone else. It felt safe talking to someone who actually understood how serious the bullying had been. Do you want to meet up tomorrow before school? Kennedy asked. Maybe we could grab breakfast in the cafeteria or something. Maya felt nervous but excited. I'd like that. The next morning, Maya got to school early. She felt different somehow, less afraid. She spotted Kennedy waiting by the cafeteria entrance, the same spot where Tyler had pushed her yesterday. But instead of being a place of humiliation, it was about to become the start of something new. Hey, Kennedy said with a warm smile when she saw Maya. How are you feeling? Better, Maya said honestly. My mom's really mad. She's been on the phone with the school board all night. Good. She should be mad. They should all be mad. As they talked, other students walked by, and some of them actually stopped to check on Maya. People who'd never spoken to her before were asking if she was okay, apologizing for not helping. It was strange and overwhelming, but also kind of wonderful. Riley showed up with breakfast for everyone, and soon a small group had formed. Students who were tired of watching bullies run the school, students who wanted things to change. And at the center of it all were Maya and Kennedy, two girls who barely knew each other yesterday but were quickly becoming friends. You know what's weird? Maya said to Kennedy. Yesterday was the worst day I've had at this school, but somehow it also feels like the beginning of something good. Kennedy smiled. That's because it is. Things are going to be different now. I promise you that. What neither of them knew was that Tyler's father had already been contacted by the school board. An emergency meeting had been scheduled, and the video of Kennedy confronting Tyler had reached far beyond their school. Local news stations had picked up the story. Parents throughout the district were demanding action. The ripple effect from one girl's courage was about to become a wave that would change everything. The school board meeting was scheduled for Thursday evening, just 2 days after the incident. The meeting room at the district office was packed. Maya and her mother sat in the front row, along with Kennedy and her mom, who'd taken time off from her shift at the hospital to be there. Behind them, dozens of students and parents filled every available seat. Some people were even standing along the walls because there wasn't enough room. Tyler and his father sat on the opposite side of the room. Mr. Mitchell looked angry and uncomfortable. Tyler kept his eyes on the floor, not looking at anyone. For once, he wasn't surrounded by his friends. Josh and Cameron were nowhere to be seen. The local news had sent a reporter and camera crew. This wasn't just about one incident anymore. It had become a story about bullying, accountability, and whether schools were doing enough to protect vulnerable students. Principal Chen was there, along with several teachers. Mrs. Patterson, the teacher who'd helped Maya up off the floor, looked like she hadn't slept much. Her eyes were red, and she kept glancing over at Maya with an expression that looked like guilt. The school board president, a woman named Mrs. Rodriguez, called the meeting to order. We're here tonight to address a serious incident that occurred at Lincoln Middle School this week, as well as broader concerns about our anti-bullying policies. We'll start by hearing from those directly involved. Mrs. Chen, would you like to begin? Maya's mother stood up. She was a small woman, but her voice was strong and clear. My daughter Maya has cerebral palsy. She's been a student at Lincoln Middle School for 2 years, and for the past 6 months she's been systematically bullied by Tyler Mitchell. She opened a folder and pulled out papers. I have documentation here. Text messages Maya received, photos of damage to her wheelchair, notes from her diary about incidents that happened at school. Maya kept all of this but never told me because she was afraid. She was afraid that reporting it would make things worse, that nothing would be done, that she would be labeled a troublemaker. Maya watched her mom's hand shake slightly as she held the papers. She'd never seen her mom this angry. On Tuesday afternoon, her mother continued, Tyler Mitchell pushed my daughter's wheelchair, causing her to fall onto a hard floor. She could have been seriously injured. She was humiliated in front of dozens of students, and for 30 minutes nobody did anything about it. Not one adult, not one student, except for Kennedy Washington, who had the courage to stand up when everyone else stayed silent. She turned to look directly at Mr. Mitchell. Your son has created an environment of fear at that school, and he's been able to do it because people have protected him. Because his last name carries weight. Because it's easier to ignore the problem than to address it. But not anymore. I'm here tonight to make sure my daughter and every other child at that school knows they matter. That they're protected, that there are consequences for cruelty. When Maya's mom sat down, several people in the room started clapping. Mrs. Rodriguez had to tap her gavel to restore order. "Thank you, Mrs. Chen," she said. "Would anyone else like to speak?" To Maya's surprise, Mrs. Patterson stood up. The older teacher looked nervous but determined. "I'd like to say something. I'm the teacher who helped Maya after she fell, and I'm ashamed that it took me so long to get there. I saw what was happening. I saw Tyler and his friends bothering students. I saw the bullying, and I told myself it wasn't my responsibility, that someone else would handle it, that boys will be boys." Her voice cracked. "I was wrong. I failed Maya. I failed every student who's been hurt by Tyler's behavior. And I failed them because I was afraid of making waves, afraid of dealing with a difficult parent, afraid of the consequences for myself. But that ends now. I'm prepared to give testimony about everything I've witnessed over the past 2 years." More teachers stood up after that. One by one, they shared stories about Tyler's behavior, about complaints they'd filed that went nowhere, about feeling like their hands were tied. It was like a dam had broken and everyone was finally willing to tell the truth. Then students started speaking. A boy talked about how Tyler had stolen his lunch money for weeks. A girl described being mocked in front of the whole class. Another student explained how Tyler had spread rumors that destroyed a friendship. The stories went on and on. Throughout all of it, Tyler kept his head down. His father's face got redder and redder, but he didn't say anything. Finally, Mrs. Rodriguez looked at Mr. Mitchell. "Would you or your son like to respond to these allegations?" Mr. Mitchell stood up slowly. He looked like he wanted to argue, to defend his son, to make excuses. But what could he say? There was too much evidence, too many witnesses. And the video of Kennedy confronting Tyler had been played on the local news. Everyone had seen it. "My son made mistakes," Mr. Mitchell said quietly. It wasn't the defiant speech everyone had expected. Serious mistakes. And I've made mistakes too, by not seeing what was happening, by making excuses, by thinking that boys just needed to toughen up and figure things out. He paused. "I apologize to Maya and her family, and to all the other students Tyler has hurt. It wasn't enough, but it was something. It was more than anyone had expected from him." Tyler was given a chance to speak. He stood up, still not making eye contact with anyone. "I'm sorry," he said so quietly that people had to lean forward to hear. "What I did was wrong. I don't have an excuse." Then he sat back down. The school board deliberated for over an hour while everyone waited. When they came back, Mrs. Rodriguez read their decision. Tyler Mitchell will be suspended for the remainder of the semester. He'll be required to complete community service hours with disability advocacy organizations. He'll attend counseling sessions, and he'll be required to write formal apologies to every student he's hurt, subject to approval by this board. She continued. Additionally, Lincoln Middle School will implement a comprehensive new anti-bullying policy. We're hiring a full-time counselor who specializes in accessibility and inclusion. We're establishing a student-led committee to report bullying incidents. And we're implementing mandatory training for all staff on recognizing and addressing bullying behavior. There was more. Tyler's father was asked to step down from the school board to avoid conflicts of interest. Principal Chen would be working with an external consultant to review all past bullying complaints and ensure they were properly addressed. "This should have been done years ago," Mrs. Rodriguez said. "We failed our students, but we're committing to do better starting today." 3 months later, Maya wheeled herself through the hallways of Lincoln Middle School, and things felt different, really different. Students said hello. Teachers checked in with her. She'd joined the school newspaper and was writing a column about accessibility issues that people actually read. Kennedy had become one of her closest friends. They ate lunch together every day, usually surrounded by a growing group of students who'd formed their own little community of people who looked out for each other. Tyler had come back to school, but he was quieter now. He kept his head down and stayed out of trouble. Some people said he was just waiting to start fresh at a different school. Others thought he'd actually learned something. Maya wasn't sure which it was, and honestly, she didn't spend much time thinking about him anymore. She had better things to focus on. The student anti-bullying committee that Kennedy and Maya had helped create was making real changes. They'd set up an anonymous reporting system. They organized assemblies about kindness and inclusion. They made sure new students felt welcome. You know what's crazy? Maya said to Kennedy one day at lunch. Remember when I said that was the worst day of my life? Yeah, Kennedy said, taking a bite of her sandwich. I think it was actually the most important day of my life. Not because of what Tyler did, but because of what happened after. Because you stood up. Because people started listening. Because things actually changed, Kennedy smiled. You stood up too. You and your mom. You could have just tried to forget about it and move on, but you didn't. You made sure there were consequences. We both did something scary, Maya said. But we did it together. Riley joined them at the table, along with Destiny and a few other friends. The table was full of laughter and conversation. Maya looked around at these people who'd become her chosen family at school. People who saw her as Maya first, not as the girl in the wheelchair. People who had her back. Her phone buzzed with a message from her mom. How's school today, sweetie? Maya typed back quickly. Really good, Mom, really, really good, and she meant it. Because Lincoln Middle School wasn't perfect. There were still problems, still moments of meanness, still work to be done. But the culture had shifted. Students knew that bullying wouldn't be tolerated. That standing up for each other mattered. That one person's courage could inspire dozens of others to be brave too. That evening, Kennedy's grandmother called her. I saw the article in the newspaper about what you did. About that school board meeting, yeah? Kennedy said, feeling a little embarrassed. She still wasn't comfortable with all the attention. Your grandfather would have been proud of you, her grandmother said softly. Standing up like that, using your voice. That's how change happens. One person deciding they're not going to stay silent anymore. I was scared, Grandma, Kennedy admitted.